We are continuing today in the 5th chapter of Shaar Habitachon, and we find ourselves again going through the list of the 7 fundamental differences between a person who has Bitachon and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when it comes specifically again to Parnasa, so livelihood versus someone who doesn't have Bitachon. So up to the third one, Bashlishi, when someone has Bitachon, so even though he puts in his ishtadlus, we spoke about this earlier, that even with complete Bitachon, person is still obligated to put in effort. So such an individual, person who has Bitachon recognizes that even when he invests in all of the effort, it's not the effort that yields the results, but rather it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, so therefore, the only reason, when I have bitachon, the reason I engage in hishtadlus and putting in effort is ultimately, again, because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded me to do. God obligated me to put in effort. So I engage in the effort not because I believe the effort is going to bring about the results. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings out about the results, but the same God who brings about the results caused me or tells me that I have to engage in effort. So let's say I put in the effort, and let's say again, at the end of the day, I benefit. Right, I benefit, or ultimately again, so let's say I put in the efforts, and ultimately I see success. I'll recognize the success is not due to the efforts. The success is due to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not going to go ahead and increase my love or affection for the effort, nor will I go ahead and find more menuchas hanefesh, more inner tranquility because of them. Hachzek the yismoch libo alav mi baladei hasibos. So this is incredible. So again, when a person has bitachon, so then even if in Eretz Hashem I put in the effort as God commanded me to do, and the effort yields results, Baruch Hashem, so then again I recognize that it's not the efforts that did it, but rather it's Hashem. Therefore, v'im lo yoelu hasibos. Let's say I put in effort, but the efforts don't yield results. Yeda kivieu tarfo kishiyertza Hashem me'ize inyan shiyertza. V'lo yim'as ban ba'avor zeh. So let's say I put in the effort, but the efforts don't yield the desired results. So at the end of the day, I recognize, okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want it. So ultimately, again, I'm not going to feel resentful, upset, or disappointed about the efforts, because it's not the efforts that create the results anyway. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu to begin with. So this is when a person has bitachon. He recognizes that he puts in the effort because God commanded him to put in the effort, but it's not the effort that ultimately creates the results. So if I get what I want, fantastic. But my hakaras hatov is to Hashem. And if I don't get what I want, I still recognize that it's still the Ratzon Hashem, and I don't have a negative feeling towards all of the effort. On the flip side, when a person doesn't have bitachon, then when I put in effort, I make the mistake of thinking that it's the effort which secures the results. So if the efforts work, if I put in the effort and I get what I want, I say shkoyach to the efforts. I assume that it's the efforts that ultimately, again, got me the desired results. So again, without bitachon, I assume that it's the effort that makes all of the difference. If the effort works, fantastic. And I attribute success to the effort I exerted. And let's say I put in the effort and I don't get the desired result, then what ends up happening is I'll abandon the effort, reject the efforts, and become upset with the effort. So again, if a person doesn't have bitachon, then success and failure in life is all about the effort. So if the effort, quote unquote, yields the desired results, fantastic. And if it doesn't, so I am dejected about the efforts without realizing, of course, that again, this is the person who lacks bitachon, attributes all of the success or failures in life to the effort expended or lack thereof. That's the third distinction. Fourth distinction, Varavi. Kebatech belokim kishivatelo davra almazona yotzia b'mashem mapik ritzon habaris barach benedivos nafsha v'tuv levavo kimoshenemar ki mimcha kol umyadcha nasan al kol. This is beautiful. Fourth difference between someone who has bitachon and someone who doesn't have bitachon. When a person has bitachon, and let's say he is blessed with more money than he needs, he's given more material possessions than he needs. So what does he do? He uses it somehow for the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, so he uses it on matters which please the Creator, tzedakah, chesed, Torah. So again, I recognize everything comes from Hashem. I have more than what I need, and therefore I will use that surplus to serve my Creator. So this two things. So first of all, now when a person doesn't have bitachon, so there's two issues. Number one, as we saw before, when a person doesn't have bitachon, the truth is, it's never enough. It's never enough. I always need more, because without bitachon, as we mentioned, there's no menuchas hanefesh, there's no inner tranquility. And without inner tranquility, I always think that I'm lacking something. Therefore, buchas amamono mihishlim chovos habari v'chovos pnei adam imenu. Therefore, because there's never enough money, so I don't have money to spend on tzedakah, I don't have money to spend on chesed, because I need it all for myself. And he does not realize, ultimately, again, that he's losing his money until he loses all of it and is left without it. Shlomo Melech writes in Mishlei, there is one who gives freely and yet increases his money, and one who withholds from giving that which is proper, only to end with a loss. So again, in this fourth distinction, which I will stop with today, in this fourth distinction, is a person with bitachon who is blessed with excess. Who's blessed with excess recognizes the excess is to be used in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But a person who lacks bitachon, so because he never has inner tranquility, and therefore he thinks he never has enough, he just thinks he has to spend all of his money on himself and loses out on the opportunity to use his resources for the greater good. And of course it becomes cyclical, because once you fail to use your resources in the right way for the greater good, ultimately again HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes back his gift of bracha, of parnasa from such an individual. Okay, we'll stop over here for today. Shkoyach everyone, have a wonderful evening.